Hello everyone, I'm Ankit and you're watching StudyIQ IAS English. In our today's video, we are going to understand why is air quality this time somewhat better than the previous years, right? The reasons we are going to understand and the notes that I will be using in this particular session. In case if you want to download them, you can go to this particular Telegram channel called as EATS Live. And while you're at this channel downloading the notes, please do not forget to subscribe to it also. Okay, so let us start by understanding why are we discussing pollution. Now, every time there is a Diwali and this brings the onset of winter season in the northern part of the country. And how many of you have seen this kind of an image going on in the newspapers and in the media channels, right? So this image highlights the state of pollution in the northern part of the country, particularly in the Delhi NCR region. Now, this time the situation of pollution is somewhat different. Why? Because of certain scientific as well as meteorological factors and not due to structural pollution control measures taken by the respective government. So what are the scientific and meteorological reasons? Let us understand one by one, which has led to better air quality in northern part of the country this time. Now, first reason is early withdrawal of monsoon. Now, I have to understand whenever the withdrawal of monsoon is at the adequate time or gets delayed by some amount of time, it leads to creation of an anticyclonic circulation in the northern part of the country. Now, whenever anticyclonic circulation develops in the northern part of the country, the region, it witnesses subsiding of air. And this is exactly opposite of what happens in a cyclonic circulation. Now, in a cyclonic circulation, the air gets uplifted and it leads to development of low pressure regions. Conversely, in the anticyclonic circulation, whenever the air itself subsides on the ground, it leads to trapment of the pollution at the ground level. And this is what happens when the withdrawal of monsoon gets delayed in the northern part of the country. But this time, the monsoon withdrawal took earlier as it was happening. Now, the monsoon, it withdrew early this year. It was done by the end of September, and this was the earliest since the year 2022. Now, what are the benefits of early withdrawal of monsoon? First of all, whenever there is an early withdrawal of monsoon, it leads to active winds. Now, whenever there is an active wind, it leads to dispersal of the pollutants at the ground level. Also, whatever pollutants might have been left, it was also drained out by the western disturbances which led to rainfall. And this rainfall washed out the remaining pollutants in the region. Now, this instance of early withdrawal of monsoon tells you certain aspects. First of all, it tells you that seasonal timing and wind circulation has a very important role in determining the air quality of a region, and that is why early withdrawal of monsoon led to active winds and rainfall due to western disturbances, which led to lesser pollution in present circumstances. Similarly, there's also a condition that is known as abnormality of sea surface temperature in the Pacific Ocean called as La Niña. Right? Now, during La Niña, it leads to intensive winters in the parts of India, right? But it also brings several or intense rainfall in the northern part of the country. Now, La Niña is a situation which leads to abnormalities in the sea surface temperature of the Pacific Ocean. Particularly, the sea surface temperature of Pacific Ocean during La Niña becomes cooler than usual, right? Now, there has been a possibility or the probability of La Niña developing in the October 2025 month is more than 50%. Particularly, it is 71%. Now, whenever there is a strong instance of La Niña getting developed, it leads to higher than usual surface wind speeds in the northern part of the India. And as I told you, there is a direct correlation between the speed of winds and the state of pollution. As the wind speed gets more, the quality index improves, right? So this leads to better dispersion of fine particles and therefore leads to lesser amount of pollution in the region. And therefore, there is a potential for cleaner skies this winter, which would lead to lesser availability of pollution. Now, there is also a caveat. I told you La Niña brings intense rainfall in the India and it also increases the wind speed. But on the other hand, La Niña also prolongs the season of winter. And if the winter season gets prolonged or the La Niña itself which is developed is weak, it would lead to situations which would favor trapping of pollutants at the surface level for a longer period of time. So yes, the kind of pollution might not be as intense, but it would stay on for a longer duration of time if the La Niña persists for long. Okay. Another factor that has contributed to pollution in the northern parts of the country intensively is the burning of agricultural waste or agricultural stubbles, particularly in the state of Punjab, Haryana and western part of Uttar Pradesh. Now, there was a situation which developed in the months of September, particularly in Punjab and Haryana, that was intense flooding of this region. Now, due to floods, the harvest season this time has been pushed back by 1 or 2 weeks. And that is why the stubble burning, which usually happens in the month of October, would get delayed. And that has helped in averting the typical October smog spike that happens in the northern part of the country. However, there is also a caveat. If the harvest season gets delayed by 1 or 2 weeks, this would create, or this would leave out less amount of time for farmers to sow their rabi crops. So they would be in a hurry to clear their fields, and this might increase the instances of stubble burning in the later part of the year, particularly in the months of November and December, which might, if it would happen, it might potentially reverse the gains or improvement in the air quality index, which has happened in the month of October, right? So this is another problem. Also, we have discussed multiple times that Supreme Court this time of the year allowed for burning of green crackers. Although green crackers are somewhat more environmental friendly than the conventional crackers, but you have to understand green crackers are not at all pollution free crackers, right? They still emit about 60 to 70% of pollutants than the normal crackers, right? Now this time, due to the government's approval and the Supreme Court's approval for the green crackers burning, we have seen 40% spike in firework activity, and this has created instances where pollution becomes inevitable. But thankfully, the air quality index the next day after Diwali was not severe, it was just very poor. And why it happened? Due to existence of moderate winds and higher than usual temperatures in the morning, which helped dispersing of pollutants, right? So this was the reason, scientific reason, meteorological reasons, that has contributed to somewhat better air quality index this time of year. Is it because of the efforts taken by the government? Most likely no. So what can government do in the future so that this kind of a situation is not happening just because of our good luck? This situation should be addressed at its root cause, right? So short-term measures that the government usually takes, like making smoke towers, water sprinklers, cloud seeding, these are ineffective when it comes to dealing with pollutants in a long duration, right? So the real solution actually lies when you address the source of emission which is creating pollution, like industrial emissions, vehicular emissions, as well as agricultural stubble burning. So until unless these issues are not addressed, the pollution would continue to happen in greater magnitude or in lesser magnitude. So what we need to do, we have to adopt an airshed based approach. Right now, the measures taken for anti-pollution are taken separately in the different region. For example, in Delhi NCR, there are 3 states which are determining how to make anti-pollution measures in the respective areas. So in Delhi, the government of NCT Delhi is responsible. In areas of Noida, Ghaziabad, the government of UP is responsible. In areas of Gurgaon, Haryana, Bahadurgarh, etc., their government of Haryana is responsible. So rather than bifurcating or taking a siloed approach in governance, we need an airshed based approach. Do you think pollution differentiates between political boundaries of different states? No. So we have to treat Delhi NCR as one unit in addressing the pollutants rather than treating them as separate entities. Okay. Also, the government can implement the NARFI, that is the National Air Quality Resource Framework, which has been advanced by National Institute for Advanced Studies. Now, this framework provides for a scientific method to, first of all, collect the data on an integrated basis and then analyze the impact of different sources of pollution and how can these sources of pollutions be addressed. And you require long-term sustainable measures. First of all, you need to promote the clean energy transitions away from pollutant sources to a more renewable based approach. You also need to promote crop diversification. Why is agricultural stubble burning? Because the farmers in the northern part of the country, in Punjab, in Haryana, they are burning stubbles after the harvest of paddy crop. So is paddy a desirable crop to be grown in northern part of the country? Most likely no. So the governments of these states might promote crop diversification, which would address the problem of stubble burning. Similarly, we also need an integrated monitoring system, and this would help in achieving public transparency. Despite there are problems of pollution every year, do you think we have addressed a root cause that we can attribute this pollution to one particular problem? No. This is because of absence of adequate data, and this needs to be taken care of at the earliest possible time so that people are aware of the issue, right? So this is what are structural lessons and what can be the way forward for the government. Okay. Now, before taking the practice question, I have something I wanted to inform. We at StudyIQ, we have started with resolution batches, and you can also subscribe to resolution batches, provided you take admissions at the earliest possible time. Why am I saying telling you all this because the batch for 2027 as well as 2028, both of them are starting on 27th of October. So you can take admissions to these batches provided you apply the code ATS Live. If you apply this code, I have one good news for you. You'll get maximum discounts, not on just this 2027 courses, also on 2028. And even if you decide to take optional subjects, there also this code will get you maximum discounts. Okay, so please do not forget that. And let us try to solve this particular question in which appeared in 2016. In the cities of our country, which among the following atmospheric gases are normally considered in calculating the value of National Air Quality Index? Now, the Air Quality Index or National Air Quality Index, it has been calculated by estimating availability of different gases, eliminating or not including two more important gases. These are CO2 as well as methane, right? So these two gases are not considered while calculating the air quality index. So let us understand: carbon dioxide no, carbon monoxide yes, nitrogen dioxide yes, sulfur dioxide yes, methane no. So 2, 3, 4 is the right answer. Therefore option B is your right answer. Okay, so will you remember it? National Air Quality Index excludes carbon dioxide as well as methane. So that is why first and fifth are wrong and option B is your right answer. Now, to conclude, you can get these notes at this particular channel. If you have troubles in locating this channel, you can also scan the QR code. Okay, so I'll take your permission. Please have a very good night.